Hello, Dr. Ramamoorthy. I would say welcome to ASCRS, but you are ASCRS. And welcome to San Diego, but you're from San Diego. So in this scenario, this is your world. And you're the current president, or you're outgoing president, is that correct?
Current president and outgoing president.
And I think what everybody would like to hear about is, what have you accomplished, what's the society accomplished over the last year or so? What are the current initiatives, and where's the society, where's ASCRS going over the next 1 to 5 years?
Sure, great question. Well, we've accomplished a lot this year. It's been a busy year for the society and for the leadership of the society. When I came in, we have a succession plan with our leadership, meaning that some of the initiatives that started last year were continuing, and some of the things that we start this year will continue in the following years. One of the focuses of the last few years has been membership and engagement. That's really kind of been a global focus for us all the time, right? How can we better serve our members? What are they interested in? And so as we focused on those things, we wanted to hit on several points. One, their committee service, right? So we have over 450 people apply to be on committees, and we have 150 spots. And so we really work hard on trying to get people in who are first-time applicants, try to redirect them to the right committees, and if not, try to communicate with them about what we can do in the coming years. Our committees are the lifeblood of our society. It's where we learn about what's going on with members in their practice, in their community, and how we change our strategic plan based on what we're learning from our committees. Another form of membership engagement is what we do at the annual scientific meeting. So we knew this year we were landing on Mother's Day, and we wanted to do something that would actually celebrate Mother's Day. And just by happenstance, we said, okay, make lemonade out of lemons. It's on Mother's Day, what can we do? And we said, why don't we make a more family-oriented meeting? And so here we are at the meeting. We see tons of young people with their families and mid-career people with their families. We had a really fun block party, and we were able to provide childcare for the first time, make it available during the meeting. And so it's really actually maybe a new direction we could go in, and had we not had stumbled into this Mother's Day thing, I don't think we would have realized how important it was for people and the balance of being able to bring their families to meetings like this. Another area that we wanted to focus on was our investments in our sister organizations. So along with the society, which is kind of the central figure, we convene something called One Colorectal, where we bring in our board that actually manages the American Board of Colorectal Surgery, our ASCRS, that are the program directors for all the colorectal fellowships, our research foundation, our journal editor, DCR, and our RRC, which is the Residency Review Committee. And we convene this group every other month, and we sit down and we talk about the common problems that are facing our specialty to try to collectively solve those problems and align our strategic goals. And so we realized, our board is probably fundamentally the most important thing to all of us. If we didn't have a board certification, we would not be FACRS, we would not be a specialty, we would not have board exams and be recognized in the field for our expertise. But they've been kind of moving along, not necessarily growing, but the world of board examination and board certification is changing so dramatically that we really felt like we needed to make an investment in them. So we went from making a small investment every year into them into a much larger grant, almost an endowment type of thing, where they then, off of the interest or whatever they decide to do with it, but it'll help lift, elevate, and grow and sustain our board for the long haul. Really, again, the fundamental common thread that runs through all of us. Similarly, we've been very interested in the career continuum for surgeons. So starting from medical school to general surgery residency and all the way through mid-career and their senior careers. And so we wanted to support them in a way that we don't typically do at an annual scientific meeting. This is all sort of database and scientific and what happens in practice and disease management. But there's a whole other soft side to what we do in surgery and in healthcare, where you got to learn how to navigate the healthcare environment, how to negotiate, how to balance your career and your personal life, how to use those soft skills to get ahead. Say you have aspirations to be a CEO someday or a CMO. So we created the Surgical Leadership Institute 2 years ago, and it continues to grow, and it's a separate meeting. where our members can go to learn these things. This year we took under our umbrella something called the career course that has always been there. I went to it when I was a fellow, but it's a course that fellows go to for a weekend, and it's a bonding thing. You know, we teach them a little bit of science, a lot of how to navigate a new career in colorectal surgery, but it's mainly meant to kind of bond this new group of young colorectal surgeons who, you know, will be together for the next 40 years of their career, meeting each other at the annual scientific meeting, etc. And it had always struggled, and it was kind of the passion of some of the surgeons, and they would always be struggling to get support for it. So it was really important to us to bring that under our umbrella, so they didn't have to worry about the operational issues or the infrastructure. We would take care of that, and they would just create content that was really important to our next generation. So that's just some of the things we've done. There's a whole list of them. I couldn't go through all of them, but these are the things that I'm particularly proud of, that I think will be investments in our society that will eventually lead to, you know, growth and strategy down the line for our society.
I would like to pivot a little bit and kind of, you've reached the pinnacle from I would say a bureaucratic standpoint in terms of running a major society, and you've been the president, you've kind of seen it, you've seen it the whole way through from the inside. What have you discovered being in this role that most surgeons probably don't realize, like the role either of the society itself and how it plays in the bigger picture, or what's required of somebody in your role on a day-to-day that you have to deal with that most people don't realize that you're dealing with?
I think probably the thing, it didn't necessarily surprise me, but I developed a new sense of appreciation for what societies do and their importance, especially in the current healthcare environment. Healthcare is changing so rapidly. I would say the first 20 years of my practice was, you know, pretty standard. Some things changed, you know, our metrics, our benchmarks, things like that. But then since COVID, God, it's just been unstable footing. The landscape just keeps changing, and it's hard to have predictability. And really, societies play a major role now, where academic medical centers can't fulfill some of those missions. Bigger societies that are not specialty specific can't fulfill those missions. So our society can fill some of these gaps in knowledge and in growth and in career development, and just in kind of reigniting the passion that brought them to the specialty in the first place. That's all happening at these meetings. And when there's problems, we help kind of crystallize some solutions for them. And what we can do as advocates to solve these problems on a national level, on a state level, and on a local level. So becoming a more important resource, I think, in the professional lives of our members. And it's more important now than ever because of all the changes that are going on. I think members don't realize that maybe what they're experiencing on their own in their individual practice is happening throughout the country, and we can help, and we want to help. So as we kind of really put out our tentacles, and this is another area that we focused on this year, is getting out to those regional societies where we can really connect with our members on their own turf. Getting those tentacles out there, getting the feedback from them, letting them know they're not alone in all of this, that we see what's happening and we're trying to help mitigate some of those things. I think that goes a long way with our members, and showing them we value them, and here are some of the opportunities for solutions potentially, or different ways to think about it, or how to pivot, or how to anticipate changes that may be coming in the future.
If you don't mind, I want to take it a little more personal. You were the first, I think, Asian female to run the society.
Yeah.
And how did it feel to finally, all the work you put in? I mean, there's so much unpaid labor, all that goes in. How did it feel to be the first to take this role? And kind of a different version of the same question I just asked, which is, personally, what did you learn from this role that you're going to take forward?
First of all, I was shocked. I mean, I'm not shocked to be president because we knew it was coming once you get to a certain point, but everything I've done for this society has always been just out of passion and interest in helping this society, helping colleagues, taking on issues that I thought were really important. And I'm really grateful for the mentors, especially the sponsors that recognize that. And it makes me so heartened to know that where other doors shut, other doors are open, especially in my own specialty, that people recognize that they elevated me. What I learned, or what will result from all of this, is I feel a very strong sense of purpose to pay it forward, to do what I can. I have this perspective now that I've been gifted, and I want to take that perspective and impact my own specialty, where I work in academic medicine, and globally. I've been able to travel all over the world, and I see colorectal care, some of it great, some of it just needing resources, and some of it just needing education. There's a huge calling there, and so getting gifted that perspective has really given me something to really think about for the next 5 to 10 years of my career.
I've had the luxury of interviewing some AMA presidents of other societies, and I think that from a general surgeon standpoint, or any surgeon standpoint, colorectal surgeon, whatever, but from a non-leadership position standpoint, we really can't understand what is it to be the president. Like, what does that role really entail? Would you be able to kind of tell, like you said, you were traveling the world, like what is your responsibility as president of a major society?
I think it's really to have a vision. Hopefully, this is something that you've been cultivating, for a few years, that you've been in other positions within a society, and you start to see certain things take shape. You start to form an idea about what you'd like to see happen, and maybe that's the specific personality that each president brings to their presidency. We're not cookie cutters of each other, and that's a good thing for this society. In the few years that I was waiting in the wings, I saw certain things that I wanted to see happen. I recognized that as the first Asian woman president, okay, I'm going to be a role model here, and I want to go across the country and go across the world and really make sure that young women and men see me in this role, so they know that this is something that they can do. As I was thinking about my presidency, I had ideas about the way I wanted the meeting to run, things that I wanted to see happen strategically for the society. Finances I wanted to see approached in a certain way, or modeling certain things to sort of ask a question. Could we be more efficient, or how can we build efficiency into the things we're doing? Wanting to open more opportunities to younger members to serve, recognizing there's so much talent in our society, so creating more of those opportunities. And really trying to instill, which was already, I think the society is well ahead of many societies in terms of really a self-reflection on process. Do we do things in a transparent and equitable way? I think we're way ahead of a lot of societies, but we're always iterating on that and sort of continuing that conversation and contributing to that conversation about, well, maybe we need to change this so we can bring more people in, or more people have opportunity to serve, so that our leadership is not necessarily about proximity to influence or any other reason other than someone's made a lot of contributions, who has worked hard, has a vision, and will make a great leader in our society, will change things for us in a way that we need to see things happen.
In my understanding, ASCRS is now 125 years old.
Yeah.
It's which was way older than I realized. Like, I don't think most people realize how old some of these societies are.
Yes.
Compared to the Europeans, I'm sure it's a brand new society. But in the United States, that's pretty old.
It's old.
The history of ASCRS, why is it so old? It seems like it was one of the first societies, wasn't it?
It's one of the first societies, and having a rich history like that just makes you feel like both obligated to it in many ways. Like, these people had such foresight. Like, I have to be thinking ahead. Like, how can I build for 20 years from now? I may not be around, but how can I ensure that I've done proper stewardship of the society, that it is robust and healthy and ready to serve that generation 20, 30 years from now the way they did? And you look back, you read their speeches, some of the things are the same. They talk about inclusion, they talk about the importance of patient care and putting the patient forward. They talk about bringing practice guidelines in and all of us practicing evidence-based medicine. All those things are true today, right? The quality of care we deliver, trying to get more people engaged. They were doing all the same things, and yet their solutions, when I think about the resources they had, their solutions were like amazing. And it took so much more work for them to do those things perhaps than today. But just actually being a part of that history, it's like the honor of a lifetime, right? And you feel a certain amount of good responsibility, if you will, to, like I said, pay it forward, to make sure you do an important job of stewarding and shepherding the society along during your year, so that things continue to blossom and grow for the next generations.
Obviously, you had to have a certain skill set from a leadership standpoint to even reach this pinnacle. What do you think are the keys that you inherently have, or what was that you've developed over the years, or the skill set? What part of your skill set allowed you to work your way to this level?
Oh, wow. Well, I think I did a lot of work for the society. I think that's a fundamental requirement, that someone who is working hard in our society wants to see things happen, and not just see things happen, but actually make those things happen. And in any society, any job you have, really any family you work in, it takes a lot to get people. You have to have a lot of inertia to get people to do what you want them to do, or to realize a goal. So the first thing is to recognize a goal that's going to be of interest to everybody, right? And then it's to get the people and the resources behind it. And that takes an awful lot of work. And at the end of the day, when you can finally make those things happen, it's really sharing in that awesome experience with every member of that team. I think I am happiest when I can work with a group of people towards a common goal. I know I worked really hard on a lot of different things in the society, creating an IBD committee, the New Tech Symposium, and all of these things were just because, I was like, this would be a great idea. I would love to be a part of that. Why don't we create that and just making it happen? I think I'm outspoken, and I think that's an important skill to have. I think it's an important not just skill, but quality. And I know a lot of us are uncomfortable speaking up, and I was too. And a lot of times the way I said stuff wasn't right, or I wasn't getting across my message, or the message wasn't being perceived the way I intended it. So I did a lot of personal sort of working on myself to get better, not just for this job, but for my regular job, and for accomplishing the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So I became a division chief, and that was a lot of managing people, and going into meetings with people who were not doctors and making sure they understood what I was seeing, and also listening to what was going on from their end, so that we could align our goals and accomplish something together. And I think a lot of this job is listening to what's going on, keeping a finger on the pulse of the membership, and then bringing those issues to everybody involved to see how we can address any of the issues, or help elevate great ideas or great people. And all of those things, I think, come from just perching yourself somewhere and listening to people and getting people to talk. The quiet person in the room, like, why aren't you talking? What's going on? What's the great idea you have? Yeah. So I think all those things. I got my MBA. I don't know, I didn't get my MBA specifically for this, but I found myself wanting to learn more about certain skill sets that I didn't have, and I wasn't going to learn them as a division chief or in my job. And so being in business school, being around a group of people that were not doctors, taught me a lot. I really learned how to communicate in different ways, how to look at a spreadsheet. A lot of running a society or even a division is understanding numbers, right? And learning to ask the right questions. So all of that took a long time, a lifetime, to kind of put that together, which is why I think you get presidents in their 50s and 60s, because it just takes time to develop that perspective and have that appreciation for what your role might be in the big wheel of the society.
Personally, I think that part of the aging process is to learn when to just shut up. And you always, like, when you're younger, you're like, I'm going to go fix this, I'm going to go fix it. And there's a point where you sit there and go, me stop and think about this first, and take a minute, and then I'll decide what I'm going to have to go fix. But even then, I think part of it from a leadership position, it's recognizing talent and being able to figure out who you're going to put in those positions. You brought it up earlier, there's 450 people applying for 150 jobs or committee positions. What have you learned any tricks is to be able to figure out who those people are that you really need to elevate? Is there a quality you see in them? Is it a gestalt, or is there something you've seen that kind of tracks through that whole population of people that you're going to find are successful?
We're pretty unbiased with the committee applications. We try to put everyone that wants to serve on a committee, but realizing we have a limited number, we had to kind of restructure our process. So there used to be people that would sit on 3 committees. We said, when we have a bunch of people waiting to be on it, you need to kind of pick and choose which one you want to be a part of so that we can kind of democratize committee service. So everyone can serve. If everyone wants to serve, we should find a way, if not one year, the next year. And so we're still working on that. I think we could do a better job, but we're aware of the issue, and we're like, okay, we need to do better. We're also thinking of different ways in which we can ask people to help. When we're doing e-posters at the annual meeting, we always need volunteers. And it's sometimes hard to find people to do those kinds of things. We have task force, which are mini committees that are there for 1 to 3 years to accomplish very specific goals. So it's in those roles that we start to see certain people shine, right? Understood, everybody's super busy, but there's some people that take a particular interest in what the society's working on. And people that kind of step up and do the work and are vocal and get involved and are willing to lend a hand, even if it's not specifically their area of interest. Those moments kind of jump out at you, and you're like, we gotta keep this person in the fold. And it's important to, as a mentor, if you will, or a sponsor, is just to kind of let someone know they're doing a great job. Like, hey, I really thought you did a great job moderating this session. I'd love to see you get more involved and get more engaged with the society. We need people like you. I think that's a really important message to share.
I 100% agree with you. I think, in my experience, I don't know, you maybe agree or not, but a lot of times people have a tendency to say, I didn't get this job because somebody held me up, or I didn't get this job because of politics, the whole thing. But in my experience, especially in this field, it's if you're doing the work, people will find you. Like, it's because we're all very busy, and we're all trying to find, we're all trying to make time. And those people seem to, if you keep putting the effort out there, you will become noticed because there's just not that many that have that ability.
Absolutely right.
What are your plans moving forward personally for yourself? I assume you're going to take other leadership positions, or you're going to take some time off and finally go relax?
So I, this year, which made it particularly busy for me, became the interim wellness director for my health system. And it's not that I had particularly set my sights on doing that job, but it was very, at least at my institution, it was a very operational job, like solving problems for the faculty that are sometimes related to, again, the practice of medicine. There's another aspect of it, which is career development, another aspect of it that is mental health and work-life balance issues. And then there's a whole other side to it that is sort of like the academic, publishing like what you learn and what you know. So it was really interesting to me when I took it on, because I thought, I actually really like this. And so trying to balance those two this year has been a little bit challenging, but very rewarding. And I think as I come off being president, I want to invest a little bit more in that, because I even see it here that I want to sustain these people's careers for as long as they want to sustain it. And I don't want people leaving or retiring early or getting burnt out. In as much as I can help contribute to solutions to that, I want to be a part of that conversation.
I always like to end with, I look at the world as there's knowledge and there's wisdom. Knowledge is stuff I can find in a textbook. Wisdom's those things that you only learn from experience, be it, I don't know if it's patient care, leadership, clinical. What would be that pearl of wisdom from your years of experience that you say, you're just not going to find this in a textbook?
It's funny, a friend said this to me, and it was really true. He's a very, very wealthy attorney businessman, and he's just amassed so much. And he always gets called in to give talks to Stanford and Wharton School of Business and whatever. And he says to me, I get asked all the time by these young folks, like, how do I like, how do I get ahead like you? Like, how do I become a billionaire?
Yeah.
And he says, 2 words, hard work. He goes, there's no elevator to the top. He's like, there's only stairs.
Yeah.
And you can climb as high as you want. Like, no judgment, but you don't get there. There's no easy road. And so I think that's true. Anyone who wants to do anything in life, be a success at anything, and I say this to my kids and I say this to my colleagues, and I remember this myself when I think about things. If I really want something, it's going to take a lot of hard work. And then you just got to set your mind to it.
Well, you've definitely proven it. So congratulations on an amazing year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time here on The Cutting Edge.
Thank you for doing all of this.